Yeah, hallelujah. Welcome, one and all. You're with Santos Bonacci and some guests. I've got Kate of Gaia joining. I've got Tony Zeppi, and I've got Pete, hopefully, joining us.
Peter won't be on.
And then we've got some other guests. How are you, Kate?
Good, how are you? Yeah, Peter won't be able to make it tonight, and I'm not seeing Tony just yet, but I know we have Spirit Dancer calling in and a couple of other guests, so I'm going to let you go, keep talking here. I'm going to screen the calls, and I'll be right back with you and let you know. I get to be producer tonight, so there you go.
Yeah, thanks. Kate.
So it's all yours, and I won't be able to hear you while I'm screening these, so I'll definitely check out this part of the show when I listen back later tonight. So take her away, my friend. Knock 'em down.
Welcome, folks. This is syncretism. Syncretism is the new buzzword. It's a very ancient word. It's not new. There's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely nothing new under the sun. It's all old hat. It's just that we haven't been paying attention. So syncretism is back, and it's here to stay. That's the new motto, at least coming from my lips, and it will be from yours once you appreciate the value of syncretism, I'm sure. I'm very, very sure. Disunity, division, divide and conquer has been the motto for the last couple of thousand years. Well, that's over, I'm glad to announce. And it's over because we have decided that it's over. You see, when you wake up and when the dead rise, they make the rules. We make the law, and the law is that syncretism is back and it's here to stay. And unity is back, and it's here to stay. Now, syncretism, what can it achieve? Well, it can achieve lots of things. Mostly, it can achieve unity in your mind, because you can see the unity of all things. I've been applying syncretism to law and sovereignty, etc. So we can see how words have been used as spells against us, and where legalese has been subtly infiltrated into our society, and we accept it as English. You see, when the judge is speaking and when the prosecutor is speaking in legalese, we are convinced or led to believe that they're speaking in English, but they're not. So syncretism helps also in that area. But where syncretism is most useful is when you apply it to theology. Because, and why do we need to do that? Well, because we've got Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Shintoists, etc., that are all claiming, or at least some of them are claiming, to have the true one and only faith/religion that will lead you to everlasting life. So it might be handy to apply syncretism to work out what's going on with the religions and to test their claims and see whether there is any veracity in them at all. And you'll find that there is and there isn't. No one owns the truth. They have the truth. So Christianity cannot claim to own the truth, therefore they can go around in their inquisitions persecuting others who don't have it, as they did in America, all over America, north and south. Indigenous, true inhabitants, originals of the land, have been persecuted with the new religion that came from the West, i.e. Europe, and put the indigenous people in their little concentration camps because they haven't got the true religion. You see, they worship these spirit things and the Great Spirit and all of this, and they have their rituals and ceremonies that are not Christian, according to the Christians, that is, and therefore they need to be killed or put into reservations, drugged, immunized, dumbed down, abused, told what to do. I mean, wow, what a great concept that is. You know, you export your monotheistic savior to another country, you colonize it, kill the inhabitants because they don't have the same religion, and commence doing corporate business on their land. And that's what the excuse that churches use, defiling the original sciences and theologies of Christianity and Judaism and Islam, etc., by conquering and killing in the name of these prophets and in these scriptures. Absolutely an aberration, and syncretism will put an end to that. So you might want to have a pen and paper, and I'll show some of the things that syncretism can do if you have some paper and a pen. First thing you might want to do is draw a circle. And when you draw a circle on your paper, you can put a dot in the middle of the circle. And there is the symbol of the sun. The sun is called Sol, otherwise known as Ra in Egypt. Ra because it has rays. Ra because the sun is royal. It radiates light. It is the Father, you see. And Ra has a wife, and her name is Mot, M-O-T. And when you put H-E-R, her, after the word Mot, you have mother. So Ra is the father, and Mot, Ra's wife, is the mother. Now, so when you look at this beautiful mandala and you notice the circle with the dot in the middle, you can then proceed to draw a line from the dot to the edge of the circle, the circumference of the circle. So you can draw in a radius, and you can actually spell the word radius on top of that, because that is Ra, God, coming from the invisible Isis and proceeding toward the circle, which is the circumference of L. So what you have by now is you have a circle with a dot in the middle, and you have a radius. Well, guys, what you've just written down in theology is called Israel. Isis, radius, and circ L. Now, what you might want to do, opposite that radius line, is you might want to draw another line from the dot. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw in 12 rays, 12 spokes to this wheel, all spaced out at 30 degrees. So you might want to do that now with your pen. So you've got your circle, you've got your dot in the middle, and you've got one radius. Now, draw 11 more radiuses at 30 degrees from each other around the circle, guys. If you can please follow along with me, you will have a beautiful mandala at the end of this lesson, and you will have the secret to understanding all of the theologies of the world, bar none. And so what you will do then is you might want to write down all of these Ra words as we go. So we've started already with radius, okay? So we know we've got a radius out of that word. That's fine. Wonderful. You might want to write along that another spoke the word ramify. Ramify. So when something ramifies, it branches out, does it not? Well, ram comes from Ra. And just above that, you might want to put the Latin word for branch, which is ramo, R-A-M-O. And in Italian, that's the word for branch, ramo. And that's where you get ramify from. Ramify is basically the same thing as a radius. Now, on another one of those spokes, you might want to just write down the word ray, R-A-Y. On another spoke, you might want to write down the word radial. Radial, R-A-D-I-A-L. And of course, this is same stuff. It all applies to Ra. Now, let's have a look at radial. the meaning of radial, and we just want to be sure that we're doing science here. Radial is a vector, a line. Radius is the adjective form of radial. Okay? So a radial pattern is one that appears to radiate from a point, like the spokes from the hub of a wheel. Then you might want to write down the word radiance. So we've got radiance, we've got ramify, we've got ray, and we've got radial. Write down on another one of the spokes, branch, and you'll notice bra. Now, branch is also a radial. When you notice the branches of a tree, you'll see them radiating outward. They radiate. And in Italian, the word for arm is braccio. And you might want to write down that word also, B-R-A-C-C-I-O, braccio. And you'll notice that Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, they are sister languages of English, so you can do this in English equally well. And so branch and braccio is the Italian word for arm. So you might want to put arm under the word braccio, and that is another one of the words, and you'll notice that arm is an anagram for ran. And when you extend your arms, you will see that your arms are radiating outwards. Your limbs are radiating outwards. So we have the word arm that you might want to put down. And next to the word ray, the Italian word for ray is raggio. R-A-G-G-I-O. Yes, raggio. And that's the Italian word for ray, which has the same meaning. Now, on another one of those radiuses, you might want to put the word arrow. A-R-R-O-W. Yes, and again, we have ra appearing in the word arrow. Another word is rocket. And in Italian, the word for rocket, which comes from ra, is razzo. R-A-Z-Z-O. Razzo. Ray. Now, when you look at a spider web, you'll see now that your circle is starting to look like a spider web. Well, a spider web in Latin is called ragnatela, and that's spelled R-A, ra, G-N-A-T-E-L-A. And what it means is the web of the spider, ragnatela. Now, the word radius. I think we've got two more lines. If not, just write these words down. Radius, or sorry, radiatus. Okay, radiatus. And we're going to check the word radiatus to see what that means. Having bands that appear to converge a point toward a point on the horizon. Having bands that appear to converge toward a point on the horizon. And finally, we want the word radian. And here you have about as many words that I can gather that have the word ra in it that are associated to just pure science, let alone religion. I haven't even started with religion. I haven't even started with Brahma and Hiram and Rama and all of those holy words that we have in our scriptures, which are all pointing to the same principle in nature, the radiation of the rays of the sun. You see, and when you look at the word pray, you'll see the word Ra in the word pray, because Ra is teaching us to pray to the sun for light. And Jesus said, I am the light of the world. No one goes to the Father except through me. He who walks in my light shall not see darkness or death again. That's why it's very important to get familiar with Ra and get to know who Ra is. Ra is turning up in our religious words too. You might want to write some of these words down. Abraham, Israel, Torah. And we'll get back to the word Torah in a minute. I did deal with this last week. But I just want to give some concise lessons that you can write down on a piece of paper, and you can go off, meditate on it, and you can add stuff to this. You'll find that once you meditate on this, other words will come into your mind, and you can add to this, and you can prove and verify for yourself that everything in religion is nothing but science. Now let's continue with our Ra words. Scarab. Write down the word scarab. How about the word vibration? Charity. Write down the word charity. Zechariah. We'll get back to that one. Serapis. In Egypt, Alexandria, before Christianity, there was a Christianity called Serapis. And when you look at the word Serapis, you'll find that it's very similar to cerebrum, because it's the same word. And you can write that one down too, cerebrum, because cerebrum also has the word Ra in it, except it's spelt R-U. Here's another one, charity. I think we did that. Uranus, I think we did that. And what about this one, the most famous of all, Christ. C-H-R-I, which is really R-A. The Egyptians used to call it Karast. And there you see where Ra is. Ra is hiding in our religious words as well. Now, Torah is an interesting word because Torah is an anagram for tarot, which is an anagram for rota. And rota comes from Ra. Rota means to rotate, and you rotate the wheel that you have on your page. You see, that's the zodiacal wheel. And you see the rota happens to be the wheel, which is the will of God, because the Torah is the law of God. And so what you have in your hands, friends and listeners, is the science of Ra. Now, there's plenty more words that I can throw in there. Rake. Have a look at your garden rake. R-A-K-E. You'll notice that most rakes are in a pyramidal triangular shape, and they radiate from a 0 point outwards, and you can rake your leaves with your rake. Notice the word ramp. Notice the word radar, run, grace. The word race. We are a race of human beings, the Adamic race. Root, the roots of a tree. Notice the word brain. Notice the word Bran. Notice the word Brian. Notice the word Ravi in Hindu, which means the sun, God, sunshine, Ray, Ravi. Notice the word Russell.
Hey, Santo.
Yo.
Yeah, sorry to bug you there. I just had a bit of discussion going on in the room. Someone asking what the point of all this was. What's your point, mate? Anyway, for people to ask that question, especially at the level that you're playing at, it's kind of a redundant question. You see, walked with you a fairly long way here, and I've had the complete joy and pleasure of seeing what you've been doing over the last while, very long while. And I've just watched everything come together with you, and the work I've been doing and everyone else, and how we've all kind of correlated into things, and how everything just kind of, it all comes together. That's what syncretism is. And see, a lot of people are still stuck in this physical game here. I think you would agree with that, in that they're not seeing the true science, the true exactly what it is you're talking about. And given your last, and I know you've got so much more to put out as far as your last two presentations, that you've done. But boy, the pieces are just coming together, and I mean I'm seeing things with my own eyes as well, and hearing them with my own ears, and there are some amazing depths, way beyond what I know most people are going to grasp on the surface, and that's only because I've been very, very fortunate to have worked so close with you over the last year. No, I just wanted to get that point out to people that are listening, certain individuals that I just get tired of the whining all the time. Anyway, we do have some callers due with Spirit Dancer and Maria and Rio. If you want, we can just let me know when you want to bring them in.
Right away.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
look, I will address the point that I was getting at, but if the listeners were actually writing down, the listener that asked that question, they will have an answer to it if they were writing down all those words. If they're not, well then they're going to miss a little bit. But anyway, they can go back to the archive and do it again. Nonetheless, all of those words point to the fact that we're dealing with science, and also those words are in our theologies. Those words are there for us to think about, because they...
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's go to Spirit Dancer, because Spirit Dancer's got some interesting stuff to share with us.
Yeah, I was going to say I've got all your lines hot, guys. So just to let you know, if you do have a mute and you're not talking, I would ask that you use it, and that way we get the background noise kept down. But and again, thanks for clarifying that, Santo, because there is a bigger science here that people just have to kind of wait and see the whole picture instead of trying to decide for themselves. Anyway, all yours.
Lovely. Welcome, Spirit Dancer. How are you?
I'm good. You got Maria and my other friend on?
Oh, yeah, they're on.
Cool. Say hi.
You guys can say hi. Let us know you're there.
Hi there.
There's Rio. Maria. Or did we lose Maria? No, Maria's there. Maria.
All right, Kate, you're going to have to help me here, because I haven't got the board, so I don't know who's talking when. So just help me out there. Fire away, guys. Let's hear it.
Well, I'd like to introduce to you a new friend. Her name is Rio, and she has some really interesting information she's been uncovering, and she's writing a book about. And I think she should share some of it with you guys.
Too good.
There you go. Rio?
Hi. Boy, that's a bomb dropped on me. The short story is I've written some books before, and I held out a lot of information that I had the first go-round. And over the years, I've updated the books, just a little smattering here and there. But I decided, because of some things that happened not long ago, that it was time to go ahead and spill all the beans that I had. And because when I originally wrote the books, I didn't have internet, and everything was done through libraries and research. And I went to almost every state, county, and federal courthouse in the eastern part of the United States, and a lot in the western part of the United States, some in the middle, not a lot. But at any rate, I decided, because of things that I've uncovered, and I knew that it was time for me to rewrite the books and put all my information out. And Maria and I have been talking today, and of course, this gentleman came up in the conversation because I've watched a lot of your stuff. And I really do appreciate what you've done. It's just fantastic. And Maria and I was talking, and I was telling her about astrotheology and what I knew and some of the stuff I had uncovered, and I told her that I would really like to talk to you because I'd like to compare notes with you. One of the things I've uncovered, and you may know about this, is the Gray Pope. I'd love to hear any input you have on him, because I'm trying to uncover all the avenues to the world leadership or control, which is all attached to the Vatican, as we all know. But she had never heard of him. And we're also working on trying to put something together to try and help people that's been in foreclosure. And it kind of all goes back to who dominates everything.
Yeah, it does. And you know what, Maria? It's interesting because I do have some notes somewhere that I need to dig up, that there are 4 popes, and they have the same colors as the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You've got the Black Pope, the Jesuit Superior General of who is Rodolfo Alonso, and used to be Hans Kolvenbach. I think they're both doing the same job at the moment, because Kolvenbach retired, but you really can't retire. You have to be the Superior General till you die. So there's something funny going on there with the Black Pope. We've got 2 Black Popes at the moment. You've got the White Pope, you have a Red Pope, and the grey one, the pale-coloured one, which is sometimes green or grey, but it's pale-coloured, is the one you're referring to. Now, I'm not sure who the red and the red one, I think, is the chief of propaganda, the propaganda arm of the Vatican. But I've got some good notes dealing with this.
I'd love to get up with you and collaborate. I also understand that there's someone above this gray pope, or whoever's the highest pope, and I hadn't heard about the red one. But I heard the one that's above the gray pope is a woman. So
possibly, yeah.
They say she's some kind of witch. So it all gets very interesting, and I have days when I go through all this stuff and I'm putting pieces together, and I just have to go take a walk.
Yeah. Me too. Every day. Every day.
Yeah.
You've got to get...
It's mind-boggling, but it's time. It's past time. The people need to know what's going on, and they need to know the truth about all this stuff, because from the time people are born this day and age, they are fed one fairy tale after the other, and when they get to be my age, everything is so convoluted and untrue that you don't know what to believe anymore. So that's what I'm trying to do, is put the truth together the best I can, unravel it, and reissue my books, and hopefully people will read them.
Can I add something to what she's saying, too?
Please.
Maybe because of this experience, this might help you guys a little bit, too. I was with a man for 2 years who was heavily involved in the Masons, a prior scion, and he was born into a family where they believed in this goddess worship, and it's a sexual, spiritual lifestyle, and he tried very hard to get me into it. And what I did learn about it is that these women who are these goddesses, these people look up to them and get all of their information about what's going to happen through visions and stuff. They use the sexual stuff to get the visions to happen, and the visions helps them decide what direction they're going to go. So you remember you were talking about Israel, and the is being the Isis, or there's your women thing, and there's where it fits in, and I never could figure out where this all fit in until this conversation right this second. And these women are very powerful. They're like witches, and he told me, he said that they were like, he called himself on the black side, and he said the black was the good and the white was the bad. Well, that's probably what they taught him, because he was raised in this. This went on for generations in his family. And I mean, he talked about going back 400 years and how and the birth thing, that how it's carried on from generation to generation, and they're born into this, and usually only one member of each family, a boy member, gets chosen, and they actually have their wives chosen for them at birth. And so, I mean, they know by the time their parents know by the time they're 2 years old who they're going to end up with. He was actually married to an Israeli girl, and their marriage didn't work out. So later on in life, I ended up meeting him, not knowing any of this stuff, not knowing all of this, and he started slowly introducing me to it and trying to get me involved in it, and I somewhat got involved in it for a short time, and then realized there's something really wrong with the whole thing. But anyway, that just might add some light to some of this, because, they use that sexual spiritual lifestyle to get these visions. And the visions help them know what direction they're supposed to go. It's really interesting.
That doesn't surprise me. I just want to throw a couple of cents worth in here as well. When we go back to Bill Cooper and Behold a Pale Horse. And I'm not one for, overlooking, simple little clues and things that resonate immediately. And given when you were talking about the four horsemen, Santo, and given that we have the black and the white pope, there's your two opposing forces, and there must always, and this is why I'm wondering about the fourth horse, but there must always be a neutral third, i.e. the Trinity, right? That's the Se, S-E, himself, herself, itself. So I see the black pope and the white pope as being the two opposing forces, electromagnetic, with the gray pope being the neutral neutron holding it all together, but that's the one that holds the true power. That's what's resonating with me. I haven't quite sorted those ideas out yet. It's just you guys are throwing some. I wouldn't call it new information, but it's certainly a new perspective on it. And yeah,
what?
You know what I'm saying. And Maria's back, by the way. I think Maria, you there? Just want to make sure you're in the call.
I'm here. You muted me. I couldn't talk.
Yeah, well, you got dropped, and I had to bring you back in. So you're back in there. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that in as far as my perspective on the gray pope aspect. It doesn't surprise me. And what was the other color? Red? Santo?
Yes,
yeah, red.
Said red.
Yeah, there's your war, right? So your conflict.
Yeah. I'm hunching that the Red Pope might be involved with the Propaganda 2 Lodge. The P2 Lodge is one of the most powerful lodges in the world. Now, these are the people that produced the banking scandal in '82 when Pietro Calvi was found hanged under the Blackfriar Bridge on the Thames in '82. Because they dealt with him. What happened? He was the leader of the Propaganda Lodge, and he was killed. And the reason was because he was trying to run away with their money, apparently. But they don't like when you run away with their money. They don't. It's all about money. But anyway, this lodge is apparently still in existence, and it's still pretty powerful. But I think the Red Pope is associated with that arm of the Vatican. It has to do with propaganda. In other words, it has to do with the spreading forth of Catholicism to make it more and more, all-embracing, more and more all-encompassing, etc. So they've been actively doing this for. I think Tony Bushby, the Australian author, might have the answers to that. I think I read it in his books, but I'll dig it up. Hopefully I'll have it for next week's show. But I do remember seeing that about the popes. But what you're saying, Kate, about the black pope and the white pope and the grey in the middle being neutral, that makes a lot of sense. You see, that what they do is they give you a polarity. They give you the black and they give you the white. So in other words, what they're telling you is the white pope is the official, public, nice boy image that they want for the Vatican, and then the black is the evil, dangerous, secret, hidden hand that they want you to be afraid of, and so they give you this duality, you see. So you can be in love with the Catholic Church because they give you charity, hospitals, schools, education, all of these amazing good things, but then they kill you by sending you to war, by telling you that you're going to hell because you're a sinner, by causing the assassination of all important people on the planet, throwing them into mental asylums, etc. So you've got, they're operating two arms, you know, so they've covered everything. They know how to work.
Yeah, and just to jump on top of that, you know, just reiterates what someone said in the room earlier. Apparently I'm blind, but here's how blind I am. I love these people. Yeah, that's all I do is look. Anyway, when you're dealing with let's go quantum here, all right? We might as well get into the science because that's what we talk about. When you're dealing with an atom, you're dealing with the proton, neutron, electron, right? When you get into the higher evolved atoms, okay, hydrogen is just your one proton, one electron, one atom, one Eve, right? When you get up into the more complex forms, you get into multiples of protons and multiples of neutrons. Now, the neutron is also that aspect of the atom that has the strong and the weak force contained within it. So my hunch on it, just, you know, based on what I've looked at, is the neutron, or the gray pope, is that holding and binding force that keeps everything together and everything apart at the same time. Because, you know, when we're dealing in this duality, everything, every word means it's equal and opposite. Every action has an equal and opposite. That's what duality is. Is this? Am I sort of getting it across to you? Do you know where I'm going with this, Santo? As far as the controlling aspect of how powerful the Grey Pope really is in regards to it, because that is the one thing that is holding it all together and keeping it all separate.
Yeah.
Can I put a little input in here?
Oh, please.
The information that I uncovered was that the Grey Pope deems himself the president of the world.
That would make sense to me, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See, I'm coming at this.
I've got his name somewhere, but I can't find it right now.
Yeah, I'm coming at it from a two-spirit perspective in being neutral, like the in-between. And I can see, from my own perspective, and I mean, I look at history and the wholesale slaughter of beings like me, it totally makes sense in that you're walking literally between the worlds, and there's a lot of power can be wielded on both sides because you're understanding how both sides work. So you can either get them in conflict or get them together. So if you had let's say, a benevolent Grey Pope, the issue, there wouldn't be the issue at hand that we have right now. But if you have one that is more malfeasant or of a darker intent, and I don't mean that in darkness, because there's nothing evil about dark. Everything is good and evil. Dark is just a different frequency of light. That's all. But that totally makes sense to me in that if there was a malfeasant in that particular that's supposed to be a very neutral role, the way this planet is right now, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you think about instead of the word neutral, using the word duality of good and evil combined together? In a sense, you mentioned that, but we haven't said it that way yet. The gray being the mix between both good and evil.
Yeah, that's the singularity. That's what I'm getting at. That's what the new. It's.
That's what you mean by neutral.
Yeah, neutered or a neutral or neutron. Anything that is. It acts for me. It's more of I see myself more as a catalyst, in that I can change things, but I remain unchanged in that process. You know. Yeah. So that's good perspective. Good call.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, guys, carry on. I just, things trigger, and I just like to get them out while I can. And yeah, carry on. Fascinating stuff.
The fact is that these popes are placed there as as the heads of that particular corporate structure. You see, the Vatican is very well organized. It has its military arm, which is the Jesuits. It has its propaganda arm. It has its public dealing with heads of state arm, which is the white pope, and it has all these different branches, you see. So they do this to hide their true nature. They call themselves, well, they're telling people that they are a religion primarily, you see. But because they are so heavily involved in education or dumbing down, and hospitals and banking and many, many other things, big pharma, armaments, wars, drugs, the drug trade, illicit people trafficking, prostitution, they've got everything covered. But what they need is they need to do things above table and below the table. You see, most of their business dealings are done below the table. That's the black market. That's the black pope dealing with that. But their businesses that are public and known to be operating by them, that's what they do in public. That's the white arm, and that is the white portion of their business, which is the clean part of their business. What we don't see is the 99% of the business that they do behind the scenes, which is the black market portion. They control it all. This is why their magistrates, the bar which serves the Vatican, that's why the bar, they want you to have a lawyer to represent you,
okay, but
to
Santos,
represent you.
let me jump in here a minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay.
Please.
My question, after listening to all this explanation, it's great. But my question is, where did I, or my spirit, or my human man God, where's it illustrated that I ever gave my consent or agreed to have any pope, whatever color, have dominion over me?
Well, that to me is the game in and of itself, right? That's why we're tracking it back to concept ion, right? The with God ion, right? We go back to conception. This is well ahead of the 9 months prior to the birth bond, because there was an ethereal agreement made between two people to build a body, and there had to be an opportunity prior to that for us to make the free will coming into that body as divine light. Part of the game, So maybe that's why I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Maria. Go ahead.
Couldn't you make a claim that anything appearing to apply to you is premised on defective assumptions and presumptions?
Of course it is. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's not about us getting educated on it, Maria. It's about them, and this is what I'm getting to, because what you'll find happening, and it's happening a lot more right now, and it's going to go exponential. It already is. When you're dealing with entities, because we've peeled back so many layers, these people can't hide in their ignorance anymore, and if they choose to, it goes beyond ignorance of the natural law. It's not a defense from it, and natural law will correct itself. This is part of, as I see it, part of our test, and one of the reasons why I focus so hard on getting people to lose the hate and what have you. Yeah, we have our fun and whatever. I do it as much as the next one. There's no intent behind it, because I know that the ones inside the system are more duped than the rest of us. It's not us that has to awaken. It's the ones inside, the ones that got duped by their ego and their money. And that has been the control. I mean, you said it earlier, Santo. I mean, these guys and their money, right?
Yeah, it's all about money, because money is power. It's the currency that they need to keep their fictional power base propped up. Now, good points that you've been making in the last minute or so, because we don't need to harbour any bitterness or resentment against these guys, because you can understand that this system was developed years and years ago, when mankind was really way, way more ignorant and in a state of sleeping death than they are today. So, I mean, if you've got a house, let's say you've got a classroom full of total imbeciles. They just cannot think. They're like animals, right? And these are people that cannot look after themselves. We have such people on the planet. They are handicapped, and they need a carer, or they need what's called what's that legal term that they use when you have not a parent looking after you, but someone else looking after you that's not your parent?
Well, you become a ward of the state, or you're
Guardian.
talking
an infant or a ward of the court.
Custodian, guardian, all of that stuff. Yeah. So when you've got someone that is totally mentally and physically handicapped, man, you've got to make big decisions to look after that person. Okay? Now, so when the Vatican and all of these controllers were setting up this system, there were a lot more people that were, you could consider imbeciles, lost at sea, dead, etc., because they didn't have education. Probably a lot of it was deliberate. So we shouldn't be really acrimonious about this, but just realise how it happened. It happened in darker ages. Okay, now we're in the light. Now we will not accept the fact that it still exists, and we will not tolerate it anymore. And they should understand that since we have now realised their scam, and we now are declaring ourselves to be alive and not lost at sea anymore, now that they should be honourable, and they should say, okay, well, now you've stood up, you're responsible, you're standing up as a sane person, you've declared your sanity, you've declared that you are of age and you can take care of yourself, we will now disappear. So that's what we're waiting for to happen. If they don't disappear, well, then that will prove that they were dishonourable from the beginning, and all along they were dishonourable. So they have a chance now to say, hey, look, yeah, we were dishonourable, but they were different times. They were definitely different times. Now we can see that humanity is awake and awoken, and we will leave you alone. That's what we need to wait and see. If they don't do that, that's when the action will have to take place. More firmer action against these organisations, i.e. Kevin Annett and all of his associations. These guys didn't just say, oh, let's be antagonistic toward the Vatican for no reason. They have a reason. They have a good reason. They are rife with pedophilia. They are a boys' club that sanction pedophilia and promote it and look after it, because any priest in that organisation knows that if they get caught with pedophilia, they're just going to be told to go to another diocese. They won't have the punishment that, ordinary mortals have out there in the secular world who don't have the protection of the Vatican. So these guys have come at the right time with their organisations that we need to support, because it is the right time. It's absolutely the right time. Now these dishonourable elements in our society need to go away. They no longer serve society, because we need to prove to them that we have awoken, and we are awake, and we are ready to wipe our own bottoms now.
Yeah, I was. We were just chatting in the room here. We've got a Skype room. It should be in the chat room on Freedom Reigns right now. Just a couple of things that are coming to mind here. Talking about is great. And this ties into wheel statism as well, Santo. And the dragon is in Libra, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there. And isn't it interesting that as legend has it, the dragons cannot see or are blind in the twilight or the twin light of dusk and dawn, right? So they can only see in the light or in the dark. They can't see in the gray. So one of the reasons why the duality is so effective, this is just coming off the intuition download, that can be so effective in controlling us, is to keep us either on one side or the other. And it's much easier to use fear. It's a very powerful force to keep everyone in that duality paradigm, so that the dragons, for lack of a better term, can have their way with us and work their magic, as it were. So when we get into balance, i.e. Libra, when we balance out the dragon, that's when they get blinded. and that's how I see us setting ourselves free. It's about getting into the middle. It's about getting neutral. If neutral is that which is controlling us, it would only make sense that, well, let's control ourselves with the neutral. And once we find that singularity again, and we're finding it, there's lots of beings like me showing up all over the place. So that's just an indicator that the consciousness is finding it, because we're all part and parcel of the one consciousness, right? Not the mass consciousness, big difference. The one consciousness. Anyway, just my thought.
Yeah, the mass consciousness is the herd that the Bible talks about. Do not follow the herd. Do not follow the crowd. Following the crowd is very, very dangerous. You see, when these clubs and affiliations and fictional institutions like the Club of Rome, the Vatican, the Bilderbergers, when they get together in their think tanks and they devise things and they tell people, oh, humans are a parasite on the earth. We have 6 billion and rising. We need to reduce to 1 billion. And all the stupid foot soldiers get that information. They get that from the Club of Rome. The Club of Rome publishes their stupidity in all of the journals that pay homage to the morons that are running this planet, and they publish the vomit that these entities vomit out, and then all of the masses in the mind-controlled crowd that the Bible warns you about go off and consume that vomit and repeat it. Oh, we're parasites. We've got to do sustainable development. We've got to do Agenda 21. It's the new age. Humans are a parasite. We need to get rid of them because the Club of Rome tells us that. Well, these people need to be pitied. The crowd needs to be pitied because they're being led and manipulated by sorcerers. Not magicians, sorcerers. Evil sorcerers. And evil ones are invited also to repent. Everyone is. So they have their chance now in this dead time where judgment has not yet come upon them. This is the breathing time that they have to stop and think, do we really need to continue being evil and hoarding all our treasures in the Vatican and depriving 1/2 of humanity from food? Do we really need to do that? Wouldn't it be a better place if perhaps we did what John Lennon suggested before we killed him, to give peace a chance? Maybe peace could work. It's a funny word. We don't understand. We understand war and we understand killing, but perhaps we could give that one a try. Yeah. Well, peace is coming whether they want to participate in it or not. Regardless, it's coming, and they know it, and they have a great opportunity to repent. But you see, like the bully in the schoolyard, he just doesn't want to let the other kids play with the toys, and even when the teacher comes along and points out to the fact to the bully that sharing would be much, much better, and he'd have a lot more friends, and he could actually interact with those friends that he's stealing the toys from and have a good life, the bully refuses to do so. You see, because a bully is a bully. And so this is how judgment is coming upon them. It's coming upon them naturally without us ever having to raise a finger. We don't need to oil the guillotines. We don't need to plug in the electric chairs. We don't need to tie the nooses for the hangsman, the hangman. We can just sit back and watch the universe take care of it, because these people have got their backs to the wall right now, and they know that their crimes are catching up to them. That's karma. The word karma comes from, rather the word crime comes from karma. It's quite the same word. So it's catching up to them, guys, and we are participating, as Maria said before, that their assumptions, assuming that we belong to their system at birth by signing us up to their system when we were in our ignorance as little babies, and they got our parents to inform. In fact, they got our mothers to inform, not our fathers. And they did this ever so subtly, and we thought we were buying into participating in a great system which would give us welfare and security. Well, yes, those are the services, privileges, and benefits that they offer, but in so doing, they deprived us from our natural rights.
Well, Santos, this is
yeah.
Maria Janet. What they did, and I think as more research comes out, we're all going to discover that their own agreement, the popes, whatever color they are, and the world, countries, sovereigns, whatever you want to call it, kings, what do you call it, realms or whatever you say, they all made an agreement that they wouldn't pluck out or steal or assign or give away anybody's subjects, including their own. And if they did, there was a very special agreement that everybody made that constituted a remedy of what would happen if you did, and the only way you could get out of it was to provide reparations. So if that agreement is there in force, and we know it now, we as photons of light, as living being spirits of our human godlike who we are, I think all we need to do is say, look, I don't know of any agreement I ever made with you, and you couldn't pluck me out of my natural jurisdiction, even though my mother assigned me away. She didn't have authority to assign me, and you didn't have authority or permission to pluck me. So unless you don't put me back to an undamaged, wholesome, whole, we have a problem.
Yeah, and this is how it's going to take place. This has to happen en masse, because one or two people doing it doesn't really affect them. This is the system that we're under, the system that they devised, that they agreed that they would be a part of, and then they invited us.
Reneged.
They invited us by suggesting that we might want one of their registrations. Hey, look here, you can register your marriage with the government. Look here, you can register your children with the government. So they invited us, and then we went and applied. And application is begging. To fill out a form, it's begging. So this is how tricky they are. They made us beg for their evil services, and we went and did it, and we went and sinned by signing.
Right. They did not disclose to us their intent. Do you really have an agreement? No, you can't have an agreement. There's no way. But
no disclosure.
But I see what we have to do is inform all the dads out there that even though moms give away and assign and transfer the baby, the dads are the only one that really have the capacity and standing to say, hey, wait a minute. I've got until my little cargo, my little bundle of joy is 7 years of age. That's your agreement, not mine. You made that agreement 1666.
Yeah, but Maria.
Give me back my coat. Does that
Maria.
work? Or go ahead.
Maria, it goes back to the original agreement between the parents to actually get together. And the intention of, whether it was deliberate or otherwise, the intention to have creation by merely consenting. That's why they call it consensual sex, right?
Yeah,
so when you get into the con, say, and you all, you know what say is, right? Himself, herself, itself. So with himself, herself, itself, i.e., you, the Holy Trinity, which you are all, you're bringing into the bigger picture. And again, you know where I come from on this is strictly on the ethereal. I don't deal in this physical plane at all. That's what I think is the true blinding I've said it for so long. There are no answers out there in terms of the physical illusion. This is somebody else's canvas. The only answers are within, and all you'll find out there are the clues. So that's why we're still at where we're at. And it's just taking the responsibility of that. And here we are, just ripping away at it, and every day brings brand new revelations for all. So I
agree.
We're winning.
I agree.
We've already won.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's done.
Someone's
it really is done.
Yeah, if but one shall awaken, that was their only fear. If but one, that out of 7 billion, that's pretty good odds. If but one shall awaken, and every time we get together and do these things, I don't care who the one is, hurry up, We're all working together to find that, right? So, sorry, Santo, go ahead.
No, that's right, and that's what salvation is. That's what salvation is. Salvation is you waking up to that fraud. That's all it is, because until you save yourself from their system, they will salvage you in their system. They're they're operating. Yeah.
You said it again, and I'm so glad you said it, because that's a word I think I'm not sure if I typed it to you yet or not, but the word save.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we said that? We're not. No one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Okay. Well, let's look at the word save and the word ve, right? Say, S-A-Y, or in Latin, S-E, as in per se or pro se. So you can only save yourself, and the ve comes from verily, which is truth. So you can only himself, herself, itself, truth, yourself. So you've got to be the one to find the neutral center to come back into your own holy trinity of electromagnetic balance. That's the Libra. That's the dragon you need to find. That's the elusive dragon, getting yourself into neutral. So that's what, when I hear the word save, that's the word I think of, or that's the sentence I think of: himself, herself, itself, truth. You got to find the truth of the Trinity within.
Right. You cannot have anybody else do it for you. You have to do it.
Exactly. So when you stand up and you write your letters to the Vatican or to the Governor General or the Attorney General, whatever it is, and your mayor, because now we've discovered who's really got all the power in the local community, or whoever it is, it's got to come from you. When you get a template letter and you just paste your name in there and someone else thought those thoughts, well, they get sense of that. They can tell, you see. And handwritten letters, when they receive a handwritten letter, they know that it's coming from you, right? So, but these days we've got computers, so we shoot off these letters. But if you are the author of the thoughts on that letter, they know. They know if it's coming from you, and they can tell the difference. And
isn't that what the universe dictates to us? Until we have an exchange of energy, our energy. Can't borrow anybody else's energy. We have our exchange of energy for us, then it will be accepted.
Yeah.
That's why taking other people's works and making them templates and putting them out there does you absolutely no good, but building bad karma.
Yeah. So when you learn and you grow your knowledge to be able to say with your own words, you defrauded me, there was no disclosure, I am, I do not carry a name because that's sinning. That's why they want you to sign with your name, because a name is your negation of your divinity. Because God, as he said in the burning bush to Moses, he says, I am. Who shall I say? I am. But I need a name. I am. I am that I am. And the lesson there was that we are all participating in that oneness. Therefore, we are all participating to this conscious soul that lives in this universe. And then the moment that we decide that we want to be a little unity off on our own and we want to have this precious name with a surname, Santo Bonacci. Yes, Your Honour, I'm Santo Bonacci and I plead not guilty. Well, that's what they want you to do, and so they need to save you because you don't know, you haven't saved yourself. You don't know who you are. So if you're going into their courts, that means you don't know who you are. And they know that they've got you already, and they can spank you and wipe your bottom and send you to prison and salvage you because you're unsaved. You're still lost at sea, and you're still a little baby that they need to look after because they promised God, their false fictional God, that they would. They swore they would. They swore that they would uphold their legalities and statutes and legislation, and they call it law, of course, but they swore that they would. So they're just doing their job. If you walk into court, if you should have to one day, and you know how to talk to them, man, you're out of there. It's like a hot potato. They don't want to know you. You're out of that court. Goodbye, sir. Thank you. We appreciate your visit. Next, please.
Yeah, they just want sheep. And I just wanted to bring up another point that Maria had said about templates. Templates do work if the truth is yours. And the only reason I have templates and why I do them is what I try to do is codify as much information as I can to those that can understand it. Those with eyes to see and ears to hear will get it. And those with eyes to hear.
Templates are great, Kate.
Except, hang on, let me finish. Thank you. Okay? Whole idea. Remember, I walk the path so everyone gets it. Makes it simple. All right. So here's the problem with templates, if you want to call them that. What you find happening, and I get emails, well, I use so-and-so's process, and I use so-and-so's process. My first answer is, yeah, you did, but it wasn't yours, so of course it failed. What you have to do is take anything that you find, again, and we talk about this all the time, this is due diligence. It's like this. I went and I got burned in a fire, and I said to somebody, I said, okay, well, there's the template. Don't stick your hand in the fire, because if you do, you're going to get burned. Now, if they want to go ahead and do the exact same process to figure it out for themselves, that's entirely up to them. Whose fault is it? And this is the problem that we have with the ego. The ego always wants to blame outside of self. So when I put a template together, or some letter, it's more of a blanket letter for them that are receiving it, not the ones that are giving it. I'm more interested in waking them up inside. The people that are doing it on the outside are already awake enough because, hey, they crossed my desk. If they came to my desk, then they're ready to do something. They've already made that known by making the effort to find me and Santo and you and everybody else. So that's when you know you're dealing with it. But the last thing, and I'll tell you one example. The gentleman I just removed from the room. I just got tired of the whining and just not very positive comments. Let's put it that way. And I dealt with this individual one-on-one, and I had to persevere through explaining the same thing a couple of times, like don't grab the files at the same time because it slows stuff down. And still did it, and all. Anyway, I'm not going to get nitpicky on it, but that's exactly the problem that I deal with most of the time, in that people are too busy trying to have it already solved. They're asking a question, but they're already answering it themselves, and they want to hear your answer. They're just trying to think of the next clever thing that they're going to say, and I catch ego doing that all the time. I mean, I catch myself doing it, and when I do, I give myself a shot in the head, and I give the ego a little kick, go back in the corner, put the thumb back in your face, and shut up. I got some downloading to do. But you're right, and absolutely, templates do not work if you think you're just going to go out and not fully understand something and expect it to work. That's not how. You have to make it yours. And Santo, you said it. You said it so clearly. You take a letter. I mean, you've written the Vatican. I've written the Vatican. The Queen. We've written them all, buddy. And we make no bones about it. They know who we are. And I know there's been meetings sitting around where where's that bitch Kate and that. That astrotheology guy, Santo, causing shit here, costing us a fortune, And I'm sure they've had the meetings. I know. I've seen the world change as a result of emails we've done. So don't think you can't change the world, because you can. I used to be one that would say that. You can.
I find that templates are a beginning thing, Kate. And information is good, but until you infuse your energy into it, you cannot have anybody else's energy work for you.
No,
it's
absolutely.
Your energy.
Absolutely. That's why I just wanted to clarify that and say the templates do work if you make them yours and if you take full responsibility for the knowledge that you are applying to it. All we can do, when you do the webinars, and Santo and I and everybody else, we all do the shows, and we try to explain as much as we can. Peter has gone over the same thing over and over, and I still get the same questions. That's okay. It takes a bit for it to sink in. It's a heavy truth to, you got duped. Get over it. So, again, that's why we do this. And there is a bit of hand-holding with some, not as much. And there's been many of us, like yourself and Santo, myself, and so many others that have been through the mill. And the last thing I want is to have them experience that, unless that's what they want to experience. But don't turn around and I had someone right after the Judge Bows video come up to me and says, you're probably going to be responsible for 40,000 people going to jail. And I said, because I put a video up? No one knows the 7.5 hours. They can't base 2.5 minutes on a 7.5 hour standoff. So if you want to do that, go ahead. You don't have all the facts. You don't know what I wrote. You don't know what I did. You don't know what I did leading up to it. You didn't know what I did after it. You've got no idea. I had these.
That's true.
I terrify.
My pet answer is, if you don't know how to defend it, don't do it.
Yeah,
it's a get into jail card if you try that.
If it ain't yours, don't claim it.
That's right.
I think the system does that, don't they? Yeah, don't do don't do the system thing. If it ain't yours, don't claim it.
It's amazing. I heard a story the other day. I was at I was at someone's house where these people are looking for remedies. It's a small group that I look after about 10 minutes from my home, and we get together once a month and we thrash out the new things that we're learning. And a young guy was there. He's probably in his 30s now, but he said he's been to court many times, and he's been in front of the judge where he's actually abused the judge with the vilest of words. And he says, and he'll talk to the judge like, so what the F has this got to do with me, you effing idiot? Believe me, this guy's got no reason to lie. He's done this. He has actually done this. And because he exposed that the whole thing has got nothing to do with him, the judge basically just had to close the case and just let him go. He swore at the judge. I've seen my niece do it. 3 years ago, they came my niece was staying at at her sister's place, and her sister's boyfriend was living there at the time, and he's got a whole heap of fines outstanding, probably about $30,000 or $40,000 of fines and all that bullshit. Anyway, the police turned up, probably about 10 police, sheriffs. They had tow trucks to tow his car away and everything. There was there must have been, to someone driving past on the street, there must have been like 1,000 policemen. Anyway, Layla, my niece, she opens the door, and one of the policemen says, we're here for Andrew, blah, blah, blah. And Layla said, not interested, go away. She knows, because I've taught her, she knows how to deal with police and everything like that. Anyway, this policeman wouldn't go, so she kicked him in the nuts. But anyway, the policeman took her to court because she made a mistake by making a statement. She thought it was the right thing to do, and I wasn't there at the time. I didn't see her making the statement. I would have advised her against it. Anyway, so I had to go to court. And I saw Layla. She's pointing to the judge. She's pointing to the police officers who are setting her up because they forced her to defend herself. She was trying to shut the door. He wouldn't let her. So she kicked him. That's self-defense. Anyway, she's calling the policemen mother effers, criminals, thugs, pigs, animals, all through the court case. And the judge was a nice man. And he knew I was sitting in the courtroom. He knew who I was. And he knew that there were a few people who knew their stuff in that court. So he let her off with a $250 fine. Now, way back then, we didn't know how to, do everything properly. So we told Layla, just accept that, and she accepted the fine. Didn't pay it, of course, but that's how the court case ended. But the reason I'm telling you this story, and it's a very long story, which I've really cut short, was Layla, my niece, in her 20s, is there pointing at police officers, calling them dickheads. I forget the language that she used because it came from her heart. She was angry from her heart. She was showing. See, it's got to be from you. It's from you. The judge was a beautiful man. He so admired my niece. He so admired, and the cops were taken aback. They thought, well, don't we look stupid here? We attacked a little girl in her own home, and she kicked me because she was defending her, and now we're taking her to court. Don't we look like a bunch of criminals? She is 100% right. They couldn't deny it. So both these examples that I'm telling you guys is examples of young people knowing who they are. Perhaps they don't know all the procedures, but they went to court, calling the judge an idiot, a buffoon, and telling them what's for, and walking out of there free. You can do it.
And that's exactly what I did, Santos, in the little tiny town out here, when the judge tried to get up out of his chair 3 times to leave the room, 3 times to make an exit and a recess. And I absolutely would not accept his offer to do that. Upon proof of claim, by the time the 40 minutes was up, the poor judge had aged 20 years, was so tired, hot, and hungry at noon, and the poor prosecutor was so upset she was as red as her shirt, put down her pencil, never picked it up again. And only because I demonstrated I knew from my heart, you know, you got some proofs of claim that you got to prove before you can do anything to me. And again, the case got dismissed a few weeks after that. But they never called me back into court again. And
yeah. Have you guys heard of Batman and Boris, the guys from Peaceful Inhabitant? They do, talkback. They're really good. And what Batman teaches is to go into court virtually and say, has any of this got anything to do with me? No, it hasn't. It has to do with your corporate fiction. But has it got anything to do with me? Because I'm out of here. Because they can't pin it on you. So all you've got to do is go, has any of this bullshit you're doing today, has it got anything whatsoever to do with me? No is the answer. Thank you, Judge, for making a legal determination that I'm not the person you're looking for. Bye-bye.
And that's what my judge had to do. He had to come back on the record and answer my questions the 3rd time around, because I had learned, and I try to teach everybody, if you say these things, you know who you are, and you do it 3 times. The 3rd time, if the judge does not answer you on the record, the judge forfeits their entire career. Retirement, money, wages, all gone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The judge had to come back in when I said, you can't punish me on a road you don't own. He says, no, I can't. You can't punish me when there's no law that says I'm required. No, I can't.
Beautiful.
About 4 or 5 statements he had to answer on the record. It took me 40 minutes to go through 4 statements 3 times.
Those are the best kind of answers, because questions, because you need to ask. Be the king. Ask king. Ask king the questions, and that's what they do. And that's beautiful. What you just said. Probably the best part of the show. The most powerful part of the show.
That's the offer, the acceptance of their offer upon proof of claim that they prove they can do whatever they're doing. You know, put up or shut up. And that's what I started out saying tonight, is that even with the popes and all this other stuff, the information that we have, you technically just need to say, excuse me, but I accept your offer that you can do whatever you want against me upon proof of claim that it applies to me.
Exactly. Guilty to the well-stated facts. Where are the facts?
I know. It would have been a beautiful teaching CD, but unfortunately the little tiny court wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah, look, it's amazing. how tricky they are. You know, they might bring, for instance, speed camera photos into court as exhibits. You know, I've seen this before. I've sat in court and you see these young boys trembling and nervous, and the prosecutor comes over and says, I would like to show that, Your Honour, the exhibit, and here's the photograph of, you know, say the car that was speeding 3 miles over the limit or whatever, and they'll ask a question to the person seated there in the witness box. Is this your car? What's this, for instance, they might ask. And the poor young boy, in trepidation, will say, well, that's my car. Is that your registration? Yes. Is that yours? Yes. And they'll answer yes to all of that because they think they're being honourable, whereas they should have answered, that's a photograph. An exhibit, that's not proof. That's just a photograph, right? That's just a picture of a car.
Yeah, and something else too, Santo. I just got another copy of my bearer bond in the mail, and right on the bottom, and I talked to you about this before, right in the very bottom, it just says, caution, there are offenses relating to falsifying or altering a certificate, which is money, and using or possessing a false certificate, copyright, Crown copyright. Warning, a certificate is not evidence of identity. So, you know, I'll just carry a copy of that around and say, well, here you go. And it'll say, well, look, it says right on it, warning, a certificate is not evidence of identity. It says, yeah, but every piece of ID you're looking for is made off of that. So what does that tell you?
Wow.
You know,
It says that on your birth certificate, does it? In front or behind?
No, right on the front. It's the one from Northern Ireland. Well, of course, that's where I'm from, right? But, no, I said that before. I've been saying this for, over 2 years. You know, that was
not
what
used for identification?
Yeah, it says right on it, warning, a certificate is not evidence of identity. And yet every piece of identification you get made has to be, you know, passport, well, bring you need to have a birth certificate. Okay, so what they're doing is they're asking you to, you know, commit fraud. That's why I went after the Crown the way I did at the British High Consulate. I said, I can't use this. It says right here it's not evidence of identity. I can't use that. It's Crown copyright. And the guy acquiesced the whole way along, and I got an emergency passport on my terms. You know, I mean, you know, Santo, you've walked along the road with me. When I talk of something, it's not. I don't talk out of theory. I talk out of this is what I did. You know, this is what I went to find. This was my due diligence to find out what I needed to find. I got too many people that are couch potato researchers that, okay, well, you know, I'll try that, and you know, because they'll read it and then they'll come up with all sorts of theories and what have you around it. This is, no, go out and live it, and then you might understand. You know, so yeah, but it's right on there, and I've said that. and here's the thing: they've been removing this stuff. I mean, Tony over in England, there, his birth, he was born in '70, so 6 years later, it didn't have that on it. So I mean, we all have our different, you know, pieces. And here I'm looking at this thing, and there's this beautiful black box around all the handwritten stuff. So this stuff isn't even on the page. So there's no contract. That's what I was trying to get at earlier, Maria. There is no contract except that which we consent to, and by fighting it, that's the consent. There is no contract.
I don't know. I'm looking at my birth certificate, and I'd have to look in the border more carefully, but it doesn't say the cannot be used for identification, although I believe that was on earlier examples of mine.
Yeah, it says it right on here. You know, I mean, I just got this 2 days ago. You know, and I've got the, it looks like the QSIP number on it, and other really interesting numbers on it. So I can only imagine what this puppy's worth. You know.
Have a listen to mine, guys. I'm just looking at mine now. On the back of my birth certificate bond, it reads, this certificate contains a history of changes of name registered at the Registry of Births, Deaths and Marriages, Melbourne, since 31st October 1986, and corrections made since 26th of June 2000 relating to the person named on the front of this certificate. Now that's pretty interesting. Relating to the person.
Well, again, that's it. I mean, it is all about acquiescence by consent. I mean, if you say that that's who you are, then you are actually consenting in the ethereal level to being one of their fictitious illusions. That's why I get really, my skin crawls anytime I hear the old name. It's not mine. I pick my own. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
that's why we go in and say and challenge the agreement, Kate, on the issue that their assumptions are not based on defective statutes. Defective,
well, that's it.
Whatever you want to call it.
That's where the bonds come into play, because the bonds are that one thing that until you call that bluff, they're going to use the bond, because until then
right.
It's assumed under assumpsit, presumption, lex mercentorium, right? You are a merchant of law. That goes back to Edward the First. You know, so I mean, there's really it boils down to just knowing who you are. And I was actually curious if Rio was going to jump in again here, or what she's doing.
Are you there, Rio?
I'm sitting over here listening to you.
you it's a Rio. It's a free for all anytime. And by the way, you guys, you want to show up on Outside the Box with me on my show? Please do. I mean, this is what it's about. This is about just getting the ideas out that people are finding, because we're all bringing something to the table here. I learn a lot. This is one of the reasons why I love doing these shows, because I learn. And I get triggers with these beautiful ideas that you guys come up with. And anyway, so feel free. Don't be shy.
Well, I would love to speak with you and Santo privately, but I'd also like to come back and be on your show again after I get my books ready to promote and sell.
Anytime.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're pretty open people, so it's not persons, people. No, people.
Everybody's
that, eh?
Yeah, I find that the more pictures we give out there, the more we're going to have somebody waking up one by one, just because my picture inspired them, or your picture, your explanation of the situation, Rio's, Santos' anybody's explanation, will create a different kind of a picture that may be inspiring to someone out there.
Well, here's my philosophy on all that. It's once you present information, it's not so much definite that they have to believe what you say at that time, because I want everybody to go do their own research. That's all I've done for 30 years is research. But it's very important that they hear and try and listen to what you say and let it bump around in their head, and they will start pulling out of what you say what fits in their little box. And it's really important that you let them expand their mind at their own rate and not try and cram something down their throat. All you need to do is present ideas and information that's not widely known.
Yeah, again, I just call it planting seeds, and this is the whole drive-through mentality we have here. Everyone's been so conditioned to get all irate when it takes 2.5 minutes to get your burger at the drive-through,
Right.
So it takes a bit of time. You plant the acorn. I'm sorry, you're not building the cottage just yet. You got about 50 or 60 years to wait. But we're actually planting seeds. Like we're planting cannabis that grows 3 times a year now. So the crops are coming up really, really fast now, and all things for a reason, all things in their time, all things in their season. And right now we are in Scorpio, and going to be moving into Sagittarius, where man will climb out of the beast, or they won't. And those that are awake that want a better tomorrow, it will be. And for those that don't, well, careful what you wish for. And I
have a lot of young people through my household because I adopted my 19-year-old granddaughter about 4 years ago. So I have fun bouncing my information and all off the kids. And some of the questions I get are very interesting, and some of the expressions on their face are priceless, because they are the product of true brainwashing through the schools and society today. And to tell them the truth about things that are going on is just very interesting to see their reactions. And most of the time, the end result is they get very upset. And so I would like to reach more young people, because that's our future, is trying to inform the young people today.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, look, I'd like to... Oh, sorry, were you finished?
No, I was just going to say some are aware, because I went in the store the other day to get a new cell phone and didn't have to use my Social Security card, which was an awesome thing. But I was talking to the little manager at the store. She's 25 years old, and she is informing her 18-year-old brother, who is finishing high school. They're teaching them stuff about aliens in school, alien beings from other planets in science, instead of teaching them science. And she says, she says, I'm ready to get out of this. And when I told her about what I was doing, she was jumping on that like white on rice, and she knew more than I thought she should have known, and was quite aware. So the kids are waking up.
Oh, they are,
yeah.
And they're searching for answers, and they're having a hard time finding the answers.
Yeah. But the people like me walk into their lives, and there it is, and I laid it right in front of her, and she grabbed it like white on rice. She's probably already signed up, So, I think that people are waking up in spite of the fact that they're doing everything they can to shut everybody down with their, brainwashing and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the information I got not long ago was that the frequency here on the planet is being lifted, and the minds of the people is actually being opened, so that they can start grasping more of the information that's out here as we go further toward when the fourth dimension or the third dimension is supposed to start collapsing in.
Yeah. Older folks
and that's
like
one
us...
of the things to bring...
Go, Kate.
No, I was just going to say, Sandra, this brings us right. Yeah, it just brings us right back to syncretism, and this is why people need to actually get a handle on what it is Santos teaching. He's got this thing nailed. So, take her away, Santos. I just wanted to.
Yeah, syncretism's great because you can talk about anything. We can talk about anything, and it all goes back to the one conscious center. Now, older folks like us. I mean, I'm 49. Kate, you'd be 48. I can tell by the voices that we're talking to mature people. Young people are very, very conscious. My son's 20, and he is very well aware who he is. He enjoys going straight up to policemen and asking them questions which just stomp them. And he tells me all the time, "Oh, Dad, I walked into some policemen the other day and I asked them this and I asked them that, and they couldn't answer me and everything like that." And they want to arrest him, but they can't. They want to... They think he's a smart aleck, but they just can't get him, and he enjoys it. Now, I would never have done that at 20. At 20 years of age, I was totally so unconscious of how to treat policemen, and I was just so scared of them, But why are they coming through so conscious now? Well, because the vibration has changed. Like you said, the Earth's frequency, the Schumann resonancy that's been sitting on 7.8 for hundreds of years, when the German scientist discovered that there was a pulse in the Earth, Mr. Schumann, and he registered it at 7 point something. Now I believe it's about 11. It's the pulse of the Earth. The vibration is up to 11 something. So it's growing very, very fast. So people are thinking differently already. So we shouldn't be amazed. But before we go any further, I'd like to recommend a couple of great videos which which will really expand your consciousness. The first one's dealing with law and government, and it's called Law and Government Driver's License Fraud by Taj Tariq Bey. And that's 3 words. Taj is T-A-J, Tariq is T-A-R-I-K, and Bey is spelt B-E-Y. B-E-Y. So Taj Tariq Bey. I would recommend to watch that whole series. I think he's got about 10 videos there, 10-minute videos, and he explains many wonderful, wonderful things. I would be watching that as soon as possible. And another one that I'd like to recommend, folks, is... Now, why did I forget the name? Bear with me. I've just got to find the video now. Just dropped it for some reason. But the one is called, yes, Shaman Healers. Please have a look at Shaman Healers. These guys are awesome what they're teaching. So there's a couple of videos, and I'd also like to pass on some good advice for keeping your house clean and your own spirit and mind and body. Just a couple of tips. If you can get a hold of some sea salt that has not been processed, sun-dried sea salt, put a tablespoon of that salt in some clean distilled water in a spray bottle, and spray a little bit of that in the morning and in the evening just over your head, and walk under the mist, because those little crystals, salt crystals, will protect you from unwanted and unnecessary bad entities that will try to latch onto your magnetic auric field. And you can protect your auric field with simple salt. This is why they used to throw some salt over their shoulders, you see, for good luck, because it's scientific. It really is scientific. The other thing which will really clean your house is white sage. Practice burning a little bit of white sage every morning or every evening, and please make sure that the smoke goes to every part of your house, even the dark little corners. In your bedroom, the 4 corners of your bedroom, put some smoke up in there, because these entities, these unwanted elementals that are not really there to help you, they will disappear, because sage is a purifier. Now, the Indians, the Navajos, and all of these guys, they were using this ceremony, this cleansing ceremony, for thousands of years, until white man came along and said, no, that doesn't belong to Jesus. Jesus doesn't do that stuff, so we can't do it anymore. But it's still practiced by them, and they are teaching white man how to use those beautiful herbs for cleansing rituals. So there's a couple of tips. Last week I mentioned the tongue. Please, if you're having panic attacks, or if you're not quite able to meditate, the reason being is because you need to put the tongue up to the roof of the mouth, and it short circuits the circuit there, which allows the chrism, or the Christ oil in your spinal cord, to actually go upwards. Otherwise it'll just stay down, and you won't get the benefits of your meditation. You won't get the benefits of anything. And in fact, when I'm not talking, I've got my tongue up in the roof of my mouth so that I can keep relaxed, and so that I can keep the energies flowing properly through the body. And another thing to do when you're meditating is to keep your fingers, your thumb and your fingers, each 4 of your fingers, touching your thumbs. So you might want to do it with your forefinger first, both hands, you're touching your thumbs. Do that for 5 minutes, and then you can do your middle finger, then your ring finger, then your pinky. And the great rishis and gurus that teach meditation properly always teach to create those short circuits with your tongue and your fingers. And so if you're doing these things, you will benefit and advance rapidly. Believe you me, if you're walking, even when you're going for a walk, tongue up, fingers together, fingers and thumbs. And you will notice a marked improvement on that as opposed to not doing that. So there's just a few tips. These are all part of syncretism, guys. So enjoy that, and you will enjoy those beautiful videos. I've got feedback from people that have watched Shaman Healers. There are 22 parts, 10-minute parts, and you will be blown away with the information in that video, Shaman Healers, and Law and Government by Taj Tariq Bey. Okay, over to you guys. Jump in. Anyone? No takers? Okay. So what Taj speaks about, he talks about the original jurisdiction flag, which is the civil flag of the United States. And it's totally different to the military flag that is seen in Congress, at the White House, and in all of the buildings of government in the United States today, which is the military flag, the stars and stripes.
They've been taking those out from the courtrooms.
Oh, really? Which ones?
The military flag.
Oh, well, that's nice.
But they've still kept the flag of conflict.
Yeah, because they don't tell you. They remove the flag so you think, just to throw you off, but they still operate under that jurisdiction. They're very, very tricky. They don't have to disclose what jurisdiction they're operating under. That's why there's no judiciary courts in the United States. You're going in to do pure commerce, and you really don't need to do that, and they know that.
And again, that's why we're focused on the bonds, because it is all about money, and it goes right back to the money. And when you start thinking in terms of slaves, they are public servants, so they are effectively, by their own admission, slaves, and of course, or servants, for lack of a better, a more apropos word for them. And servants like to get paid, and because we are considered the masters, quote unquote, we haven't determined what pay they're going to get, so they're just going to take whatever the master will tolerate. And the master, which is you, I, the rest of us, had enough of the servants just helping themselves to literally the bank accounts, and building themselves really nice new quarters called city halls and stuff like that, where no expense is spared, and raises and all the rest of it. And they'll keep doing it, and they'll keep doing it until we wake up. And unfortunately for them, we are awakening, and their days are numbered. And I'm not talking weeks or months. I'm talking days. That this puppy, we're in Scorpio right now, and what does that mean, Santo?
Well, okay, this is fun, and that's why syncretism is the best subject that we can always have on our lips. Scorpio is the 8th sign of the zodiac. 8 is a magic number. Let's have a look at 8. 8 is divided by 4 and 4 make 8. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 make 8. Therefore, 8 is about multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 2 is 8. So, but also 8 is in the Fibonacci series too. So 8 has to do with doubling, but it also has to do with phi. Because, as we said, 8 consists of 4 plus 4, but it also consists of 5 plus 3. And so 8 consists of 5 and 3. 5 consists of 3 and 2. 3 consists of 2 and 1. 2 consists of 1 and 1. Now, when you look at all of those numbers and you write them down on a piece of paper, 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then you get the next two digits in the series, 1 plus 2 equals 3. Then you go 2 plus 3 equals 5. And then you go 3 plus 5 equals 8. Well, there you've got your Fibonacci. So 8 is this amazing transformatory number. It never ends, so there's no starting point. and it has to do with death and destruction. So Scorpio, or the 8th house, has to do with just that, death and transformation. So it's death of the old system, and it's going to be transformed and overhauled. And that will happen in this month. It will happen, even if it happens behind closed doors, and we are the recipients of this new change in the next few months. Rest assured, it will happen under Scorpio, right on cue. And it has. And like you said, Kate, these guys, they're servants. They are slaves. They are our servants, and they are good servants. They are very good servants. In fact, they are committing crimes on behalf of their master. That's how good they are, and that's how obedient they are. So they're just waiting for the true master to walk into court and to give them instructions, and they will follow your instructions, for they are good servants. They promise to be good servants. They've always promised to be. And the reason why they've made the wrong decisions, let's call it, on our behalf, is because they haven't been instructed as to who is their new master. Until such time as we declare that we are the God in the courtroom, they will follow their other God, their fiction, and they will obey them because they are good servants. That's what they do. They serve. They do nothing else. So we have to teach them how to serve us properly.
Oh, I totally agree. Totally agree. Just following up on some stuff here with regards to, I keep an eye on everything, guys. It's just kind of the nature of me being Gemini. With regards to boxing signatures, we got about 5 minutes left here. You know, you can talk about all sorts of different processes within the law and everything else and what you think a government recognizes or not. The simple truth of the matter is it's all about money. You know, people, and you know, we've been part of it too, Santo, and as guilty of it as figuring out something and you know, using our intellectual prowess, as it were, you know, the ego analytical to solve stuff. Again, it's a handy tool as long as you use it as a tool, not to be a tool using it. And you know, we always go for the basics. What are the root causes of things here? And all too often, people get caught up in this thing that, well, this works for me, and you know, I get left alone, this, that, and the other. And yet many people forget to look at well, why are they leaving you alone? Well, one, because you're trapped in your own unwillingness to go beyond where you're at, thinking that you've solved everything, so you're not a threat anymore. It's the only time you become a threat is when you expand beyond that what you thought was working. And I mean, Santa, we've been down a lot of different roads, you know, looking everywhere. I mean, we went straight to the Vatican. This isn't just about, you know, the U.S. government or the UK government or anything. This is about world governance and what the root cause for, you know, worldwide wars are, and you know, religions and how they were put into place. And really, it's all boils down to religion anyway. You know, you've got, I don't care, you know, government. We already know what government means. It means rectum mind. And, you know, when you vote, that's where you're sticking your head in their rectum. So not advisable unless you got a rain cap on. But, you know, and I try to be polite about this. The post was regards to, I worked at the bank too, by the way. And people are missing the point here. We're not dealing in the physical. All right. This is about changing the consciousness. And we know that under Article or Section 3-419 of the Uniform Commercial Code, under which banks are, you know, that's part of their gig, right? Uniform Commercial Code. When you become an accommodating party, if you want to speak law, I'll speak law all day long. I speak fluent law, and I've talked with some of the best. Dave Williams, Matrix Solutions. Spent many hours talking to him. One of the smartest legal men I know, and. You know, the bottom line is this: it had to start at source. It starts at the bond. When you're talking about being an accommodating party, which means you're paying for the party, okay? That's why they call them accommodations, right? When you don't take control of your signature, that's your ethereal sine wave, okay? So you can talk about whatever rule you want, and I don't care how high up you are in the bank, because unless you're actually running the show, you don't know shit. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. And I've been very fortunate in a lot of the people that I've been able to associate with over the years. by virtue of music, and I've met some pretty high-end people. You might be surprised at what you don't know. Most people are, and this is a lot of the stuff that I work from is just strictly from experience and from the lessons I've learned from others by shutting up and listening. So before you go out and start knocking something, you might want to try it. But again, it's about the ethereal. It's about the change of consciousness. It's about the change of mind. Anyway, we got 2 minutes left here, Santos. So I guess we'll let you wrap up your show. And I just want to get that in there because I think it's critical for people to look everywhere and not get stuck on one thing just because one thing worked for them. What about everybody else? That's who I'm worried about. I'm good.
Yeah. Thanks, Kate. And listeners, I hope that the information provided in this show has been up to your liking and standard. I do not like to offend anybody. I know sometimes I'm a forthright Aryan, but I'm concerned for primarily truth, and secondary is my brothers. My reason for getting up in the morning and researching and making presentations and sharing all of this information with people is so that truth may live. Omnia vincit veritas. Long live the truth. So please don't be offended. Don't be offended at Kate or anything or myself, because we are eager, we are enthusiastic. Join us every week, please. Next week I'll take the board because I'm just new at this, and so Kate's been doing that. Thank you, Kate. I'll relieve you of that next week, and hopefully I can manage the board, and I would really like to hear from you guys. Thanks, sisters, for joining us with your beautiful wisdom and your lovely thoughts. I really appreciate that, and if we can make this something where everybody can participate and bring good things to the table so that we can be a beautiful fraternity of conscious living gods as we were supposed to be, and let's make for a better world, guys. There's no reason why we should sit on our laurels and just look after ourselves. Let's look after everybody else who's sleeping, wake up the rest of the world, help them, and be the teachers to them that we have had, the beautiful teachers that we have had, the likes of Dean Clifford, Kate of Gaia, Winston Strout, Mary Croft, Rob Menard, and all these guys who have been out there, and they may not have had all the pieces of the puzzle, but they were doing what we are doing now, which is we are interested in truth. Omnia vincit veritas. And folks, carpe diem, seize the day. Now is the time. There's no better time. Let's be out there. Let's be forthright in sharing the truth with people and enjoy the beautiful world that will result from our standing up and taking responsibility and accountability for ourselves and share this wisdom with other folks. Thank you for listening. And stay tuned, please, for the weekly show, and it will be called Syncretism. Please learn the word. Tell everybody about it. Point them to Mr. Astrotheology YouTube handle, because I've got a 4-hour presentation which teaches what syncretism means. So thanks once again. And how are we going for time, Kate?
Oh, we ran out about a minute and a half ago. That's okay. We're still recording. Anyway, it's all good.
Excellent. Good night.
You too, guys.
Thank you, Santos.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll talk soon. Good night.
Thanks, Kate.
Anytime. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Santo, before I end the episode here, just to let people know that the ones that are listening to the download, you'll be on every Sunday night from 7 to 9 with Syncretism, and I'm here to assist in any way, you know that. And great show. And yeah, I guess I'll call you back as soon as we get off the air here. Just try to tie up some loose ends as far as the week goes, and a couple of other ideas I want to go over with you. But great job.
Thanks, Kate, and thank you for helping me. And, of course, next week I'll be on the board. I'll learn how to do it, and we'll have another great show. Thank you.
You got it. I'll call you right back as soon as I end the episode here, okay?
You bet. See ya.
All right. Bye-bye. End the episode.
Ra appearing in the word arrow. Another word is rocket. And in Italian, the word for rocket, which comes from Ra, is razzo. R-A-Z-Z-O. Razzo. Ray. Now, when you look at a spider web, you'll see now that your circle is starting to look like a spider web. Well, a spider web in Latin is called ragnatela, and that's spelled R-A, Ra, G-N-A-T-E-L-A. And what it means is the web of the spider, ragnatela. Now, the word radius. I think we've got two more lines. If not, just write these words down. Radius, or sorry, radiatus. Okay, radiatus. And we're going to check the word radiatus to see what that means. Having bands that appear to converge toward a point on the horizon. Having bands that appear to converge toward a point on the horizon. And finally, we want the word radian. And here you have about as many words that I can gather that have the word Ra in it that are associated to just pure science, let alone religion. I haven't even started with religion. I haven't even started with Brahma and Hiram and Rama and all of those holy words that we have in our scriptures, which are all pointing to the same principle in nature, the radiation of the rays of the sun. You see, and when you look at the word pray, you'll see the word Ra in the word pray, because Ra is teaching us to pray to the sun for light. And Jesus said, I am the light of the world. No one goes to the Father except through me. He who walks in my light shall not see darkness or death again. That's why it's very important to get familiar with Ra and get to know who Ra is. Ra is turning up in our religious words too. You might want to write some of these words down. Abraham, Israel, Torah. And we'll get back to the word Torah in a minute. I did deal with this last week. But I just want to give some concise lessons that you can write down on a piece of paper, and you can go off, meditate on it, and you can add stuff to this. You'll find that once you meditate on this, other words will come into your mind, and you can add to this, and you can prove and verify for yourself that everything in religion is nothing but science. Now let's continue with our Ra words. Scarab. Write down the word scarab. How about the word vibration? Charity. Write down the word charity. Zechariah. We'll get back to that one. Serapis. In Egypt, Alexandria, before Christianity, there was a Christianity called Serapis. And when you look at the word Serapis, you'll find that it's very similar to cerebrum, because it's the same word. And you can write that one down too, cerebrum, because cerebrum also has the word Ra in it, except it's spelt R-U. Here's another one, charity. I think we did that. Uranus, I think we did that. And what about this one, the most famous of all, Christ. C-H-R-I, which is really R-A. The Egyptians used to call it Karast. And there you see where Ra is executed with the new religion that came from the West, i.e. Europe, and put the indigenous people in their little concentration camps because they haven't got the true religion. You see, they worship these spirit things and the Great Spirit and all of this, and they have their rituals and ceremonies that are not Christian, according to the Christians, that is, and therefore they need to be killed or put into reservations, drugged, immunized, dumbed down, abused, told what to do. I mean, wow, what a great concept that is. You know, you export your monotheistic savior to another country, you colonize it, kill the inhabitants because they don't have the same religion, and commence doing corporate business on their land. And that's what the excuse that churches use, defiling the original sciences and theologies of Christianity and Judaism and Islam, etc., by conquering and killing in the name of these prophets and in these scriptures. Absolutely an aberration, and syncretism will put an end to that. So you might want to have a pen and paper, and I'll show some of the things that syncretism can do if you have some paper and a pen. First thing you might want to do is draw a circle. And when you draw a circle on your paper, you can put a dot in the middle of the circle. And there is the symbol of the sun. The sun is called Sol, otherwise known as Ra in Egypt. Ra because it has rays. Ra because the sun is royal. It radiates light. It is the Father, you see. And Ra has a wife, and her name is Mot, M-O-T. And when you put H-E-R, her, after the word Mot, you have mother. So Ra is the father, and Mot, Ra's wife, is the mother. Now, so when you look at this beautiful mandala and you notice the circle with the dot in the middle, you can then proceed to draw a line from the dot to the edge of the circle, the circumference of the circle. So you can draw in a radius, and you can actually spell the word radius on top of that, because that is Ra, God, coming from the invisible Isis and proceeding toward the circle, which is the circumference of L. So what you have by now is you have a circle with a dot in the middle, and you have a radius. Well, guys, what you've just written down in theology is called Israel. Isis, radius, and circ L. Now, what you might want to do, opposite that radius line, is you might want to draw another line from the dot. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw in 12 rays, 12 spokes to this wheel, all spaced out at 30 degrees. So you might want to do that now with your pen. So you've got your circle, you've got your dot in the middle, and you've got one radius. Now, draw 11 more radiuses at 30 degrees from each other around the circle, guys. If you can please follow along with me, you will have is hiding in our religious words as well. Now, Torah is an interesting word because Torah is an anagram for tarot, which is an anagram for rota, and rota comes from Ra. Rota means to rotate, and you rotate the wheel that you have on your page. You see, that's the zodiacal wheel. And you see the rota happens to be the wheel, which is the will of God, because the Torah is the law of God. And so what you have in your hands, friends and listeners, is the science of Ra. Now, there's plenty more words that I can throw in there. Rake. Have a look at your garden rake. R-A-K-E. You'll notice that most rakes are in a pyramidal triangular shape, and they radiate from a 0 point outwards, and you can rake your leaves with your rake. Notice the word ramp. Notice the word radar. Run. Grace. the word race. We are a race of human beings, the Adamic race. Root, the roots of a tree. Notice the word brain. Notice the word Bran. Notice the word Brian. Notice the word Ravi in Hindu, which means the sun, God, sunshine, Ray, Ravi. Notice the word Russell.
Hey, Santo.
Yo.
Yeah, sorry to bug you there. I just had a bit of discussion going on in the room. Someone asking what the point of all this was. What's your point, mate? Anyway, for people to ask that question, especially at the level that you're playing at, it's kind of a redundant question. You see, walked with you a fairly long way here, and I've had the complete joy and pleasure of seeing what you've been doing over the last while, very long while. And I've just watched everything come together with you, and the work I've been doing and everyone else, and how we've all kind of correlated into things, and how everything just kind of, it all comes together. That's what syncretism is. And see, a lot of people are still stuck in this physical game here. I think you would agree with that, in that they're not seeing the true science, the true exactly what it is you're talking about. And given your last, and I know you've got so much more to put out as far as your last two presentations that you've done, but boy, the pieces are just coming together, and I mean I'm seeing things with my own eyes as well, and hearing them with my own ears, and there are some amazing depths, way beyond what I know most people are going to grasp on the surface, and that's only because I've been very, very fortunate to have worked so close with you over the last year. No, I just wanted to get that point out to people that are listening, certain individuals that I just get tired of the whining all the time. Anyway, we do have some callers due with Spirit Dancer and Maria and Rio. If you want, we can just let me know when you want to bring them in.
Right away.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Look, I will address the point that I was getting at, but if the listeners were actually writing down, they will. The listener that asked that question, they will have an answer to it if they were writing down all those words. If they're not, well then they're going to miss a little bit. But anyway, they can go back to the archive and do it again. Nonetheless, all of those words point to the fact that we're dealing with science, and also those words are in our theologies. Those words are there for us to think about, because they are a beautiful mandala at the end of this lesson, and you will have the secret to understanding all of the theologies of the world, bar none. And so what you will do then is you might want to write down all of these Ra words as we go. So we've started already with radius, okay? So we know we've got a radius out of that word. That's fine. Wonderful. You might want to write along that another spoke the word ramify. Ramify. So when something ramifies, it branches out, does it not? Well, ram comes from Ra. And just above that, you might want to put the Latin word for branch, which is ramo. R-A-M-O. And in Italian, that's the word for branch, ramo. And that's where you get ramify from. Ramify is basically the same thing as a radius. Now, on another one of those spokes, you might want to just write down the word ray, R-A-Y. On another spoke, you might want to write down the word radial, radial, R-A-D-I-A-L. And of course, this is same stuff. It all applies to Ra. Now, let's have a look at radial, the meaning of radial, and we just want to be sure that we're doing science here. Radial is a vector, a line. radius is the adjective form of radial. Okay? So a radial pattern is one that appears to radiate from a point, like the spokes from the hub of a wheel. Then you might want to write down the word radiance. So we've got radiance, we've got ramify, we've got ray, and we've got radial. Write down on another one of the spokes, branch, and you'll notice bra. Now, branch is also a radial. When you notice the branches of a tree, you see them radiating outward. They radiate. And in Italian, the word for arm is braccio. You might want to write down that word also, B-R-A-C-C-I-O, braccio. And you'll notice that Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, they are sister languages of English, so you can do this in English equally well. And so branch and braccio is the Italian word for arm. So you might want to put arm under the word braccio, and that is another one of the words, and you'll notice that arm is an anagram for ran. And when you extend your arms, you will see that your arms are radiating outwards. Your limbs are radiating outwards. So we have the word arm that you might want to put down. And next to the word ray, the Italian word for ray is raggio. R-A-G-G-I-O. Yes, raggio. And that's the Italian word for ray, which has the same meaning. Now, on another one of those radiuses, you might want to put the word arrow. A-R-R-O-W. Yes, and again, we have... Yeah, hallelujah. Welcome, one and all. You're with Santos Bonacci and some guests. I've got Kate of Gaia joining. I've got Tony Zeppi, and I've got Pete, hopefully, joining us.
Peter won't be on.
And then we've got some other guests. How are you, Kate?
Good, how are you? Yeah, Peter won't be able to make it tonight, and I'm not seeing Tony just yet, but I know we have Spirit Dancer calling in and a couple of other guests, so I'm going to let you go, keep talking here. I'm going to screen the calls, and I'll be right back with you and let you know. I get to be producer tonight, so there you go.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
So it's all yours, and I won't be able to hear you while I'm screening these, so I'll definitely check out this part of the show when I listen back later tonight. So take her away, my friend. Knock 'em down.
Welcome, folks. This is syncretism. Syncretism is the new buzzword. It's a very ancient word. It's not new. There's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely nothing new under the sun. It's all old hat. It's just that we haven't been paying attention. So syncretism is back, and it's here to stay. That's the new motto, at least coming from my lips, and it will be from yours once you appreciate the value of syncretism, I'm sure. I'm very, very sure. Disunity, division, divide and conquer has been the motto for the last couple of thousand years. Well, that's over. I'm glad to announce. And it's over because we have decided that it's over. You see, when you wake up and when the dead rise, they make the rules. We make the law, and the law is that syncretism is back and it's here to stay. And unity is back, and it's here to stay. Now, syncretism, what can it achieve? Well, it can achieve lots of things. Mostly, it can achieve unity in your mind, because you can see the unity of all things. I've been applying syncretism to law and sovereignty, etc. So we can see how words have been used as spells against us, and where legalese has been subtly infiltrated into our society, and we accept it as English. You see, when the judge is speaking and when the prosecutor is speaking in legalese, we are convinced or led to believe that they're speaking in English, but they're not. So syncretism helps also in that area. But where syncretism is most useful is when you apply it to theology. Because, and why do we need to do that? Well, because we've got Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Shintoists, etc., that are all claiming, or at least some of them are claiming, to have the true one and only faith/religion that will lead you to everlasting life. So it might be handy to apply syncretism to work out what's going on with the religions and to test their claims and see whether there is any veracity in them at all. And you'll find that there is and there isn't. No one owns the truth. They have the truth. So Christianity cannot claim to own the truth, therefore they can go around in their inquisitions persecuting others who don't have it, as they did in America, all over America, north and south. Indigenous true inhabitants, originals of the land, have been persecuted